You guys, just getting here set up. Welcome you guys to Dr. J's Prescription for Health. I am your host, Dr. Malea Jensen. Hello, hello. We are live on YouTube and Instagram, so this is an opportunity for you to ask medical questions. As a reminder, this is not medical advice. It is for information purposes only. So if you have a question, I will be happy to try to answer it for you. But we have a few topics of interest, I'm sure, that we can get into. Good morning, Tracy and Jill. Let's see. Again, we are live on Instagram. Good morning, Penny. And we are live on YouTube. So, all right. A little bit about myself in case you're new here. I am a family practice physician. I am located in Des Moines, Iowa. I have recently moved from a physical practice to a online practice, and it's going quite well. I felt a little bit disenfranchised by or disenchanted by the medical field. I believe it is a sick care model instead of a model that would encourage you to become healthy. And that is really unfortunate. Got a wild hair. There we go. Put it onto the right side. That's the reason why I have been doing what I've been doing, and it's been fun. I've learned a lot from other physicians who are online. I've also learned a lot from you guys who are listening, and that's what's made it exciting. Some of the things that came up yesterday that was quite interesting after the fact that I always get a lot of questions sent to me and wanted me to go over things after I get done with my live streams. And it's quite interesting. I love to get the questions. But one was on statins, and this comes up all the time. Statins are cholesterol lowering medications. And it appears from listening to you guys that your doctors push these medications, and I'm sure that I was one of those doctors who pushed statins a lot. I don't deny that. I was actually bamboozled by the buffoonery at one point in my life, but another reason why I moved to an all online practice with consultations is to try to give information that I don't think you're getting in the office from your doctor. I believe that doctors like myself were bamboozled, and we were just being robots. They still are. They're being robots. They're just regurgitating information they were given. They've never been given the opportunity to move outside of the box. All of our continuing medical education is highlighted by the exact same people who write the curriculum for our medical school and our residencies. In my residency, yes, drug reps were invited in. However, they were discouraged by some of the physicians, not because they were telling us lies, but because actually these residency doctors wanted us to learn things on our own, which actually was pushed by our continuing medical education anyway. Good morning, Linda. Hello, how are you guys doing? Good morning, Lucy and Mary. So how did we get into the concept that cholesterol is the problem? In fact, when I was in medical school and even in residency, I was never even taught where these things come from. I remember doing in undergrad, I went to undergrad in Iowa as well as my medical school and residency. I did everything in Iowa. But when I was in undergrad, was I in undergrad? Yeah, I think it was my freshman year, where we had to do a presentation, and I actually did mine on the Framingham Heart Study. And during the summer, I interviewed a Park Davis pharmaceutical rep. I don't even know that he was much as a rep as he was in the higher ups. Yeah, Linda, it is very cold. I think it's still 4 below. It is very cold here. Linda is from Iowa. Yes, it is very cold here, and we got more snow than they said we were going to get. We got like 5 inches, and trying to shovel that in below zero weather was quite miserable, but we got it done. Do I know anything about eczema? Of course I do, but maybe I should let you ask me a question first. Good morning, Lucy. So I believe that the concept began in the 1950s, maybe even earlier in the 1940s, regarding saturated fat and heart disease. I don't know if there was a motive behind doing this, but you know, you can't really deny it that statins became trillion-dollar industries when, if we were using our head, and I call this thinking logically, if if we just think logically, statins have been in existence for probably 40 plus years, yet it really hasn't been working on heart disease, has it? It really hasn't even been working on diabetes, because heart disease is still the most common cause of death. I'm just going to say in the United States because that's where I'm at. My specialty is family practice. Thank you for asking. So if statins have actually been in existence for 40 plus years, why is heart disease still the most common cause of death? Good question, right? If we were to look at primary prevention and secondary prevention, we start looking into the statistics and we start asking ourselves, why are we still doing what we're doing? The primary prevention is another way of saying that how can we prevent the first event from occurring, the first heart attack, the first stroke, the first cardiovascular, whatever. That's called primary prevention. Secondary prevention is being able to prevent a second event from occurring. You've already had your first event. What are the chances that you're going to prevent a second event? So if we were to look at statins and we were to look at primary prevention, okay, I like to look at number needed to treat. How many people do we need to treat in order to prevent the one thing from happening? The primary one from happening. You've never had one. What is the number needed to treat and for how long? So if we look at primary prevention, we're going to prevent the first one from occurring. To prevent one cardiovascular event. Okay, one cardiovascular event. We're going to prevent one. We need to treat anywhere from 40 to 400 people for 5 years. The average is 268 people need to be treated in order to prevent a cardiovascular event. When we look at to prevent one death in an individual, we're going to treat you to prevent one death. How many does it take that we need to treat for 5 years to prevent one death? Between 95 and 140 for 5 years. And we can prevent one death. So we got to treat about 100 people for 5 years in order to prevent a death. In order to prevent one stroke, how many people do we need to treat for 5 years to prevent one stroke? Over 250 people, 260. Were you presented these facts when you were asked to start your statin? What about secondary prevention? You've already had an event. You don't even know why, but you've been told it's from high cholesterol. Yet many people who haven't their event don't have high cholesterol. In fact, many of them are already on a statin or a cholesterol-lowering drug, and they've still had an event. So if we want to prevent a secondary event, we want to increase your statin and lower your cholesterol even more. Now, to prevent one non-fatal, so you're going to have your second event, but you're not going to die from it. How many people need to be treated to prevent a non-fatal heart attack from occurring secondary, for 5 years. 40 people. So we have to treat an additional 40 people. They've already had an event. They were likely already on a statin. We don't know. That wasn't in the data, but we're speculating. I am speculating. Let's just say they weren't. You've already had an event, and now you're going to go on the medicine. So we got to treat 40 people for 5 years in order to prevent one non-fatal heart attack. You're not going to die from it, okay? To prevent one death. You've already had an event. How many people need to be treated to prevent one death? Okay? 83. 83 would need to take the statin for 5 years in order to prevent one death, a secondary death. They survived the first one. We're going to try to prevent a secondary event that's going to kill you from occurring. 83 people need to be treated for 5 years. What about a stroke? You've had an event. You're going to be put on a statin. How many need to be treated for 5 years to prevent a secondary stroke from occurring? 155. 155 people would need to be treated for 5 years to prevent one stroke, whether you live or die from it. Are those the type of statistics? Maybe you say, you know what? It's worth it to me. I'll be one of the 155 people. If you can prevent me from having a stroke and I'm one of the 155 for 5 years, I'm good with it. But did they tell you about all the side effects? Did they tell you about how a statin works? How it is an HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor? Did they tell you, you know what, you got it. We don't have our moderator on here yet, but we'll work on that. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to read through the questions. JS says, this is why I moved away from a PCP and am nearly holistic now. I haven't felt better. No offense to you. No offense taken. I've moved away from it too. And yeah, TD, you sure can ask a question as long as it's appropriate. Yeah. So how are these numbers calculated, Lucy? They are supposedly from randomized clinical trials. But you can Google these statistics. Like you're going to have to go back. I had to write them down. There's no way I could remember all of these things and, and understand, the statistics. It's eye-opening for me only because I didn't know these statistics. I was treating people and didn't know the statistics myself. And I am doubtful that other docs would have the time to be able to look into all these statistics. It's an easy GPT, search, and that's where I got these numbers. Now, again, you could say, well, that's not really right, and I've seen it, and that's fine. You're welcome to question this, and as you should question these things. The data, this is interesting, Melanie. The data that's supporting the side effects, what the side effect, if you were to chat GPT that, which I have, they will say that the benefits outweigh the risks. The benefits are outweighing the risks of anything. So if you were to look up what HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor, it's inhibiting a natural biologic process in our body. That's what an inhibitor means. It's inhibiting a natural biologic or physiologic pathway in our body. In this case, a statin is an HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor. That's the name, that's their name. So they inhibit the HMG-CoA pathway, also known as the mevalonate pathway. So at the end of the mevalonic pathway, you get cholesterol production. You also get vitamin D production. You get a lot of things, okay? There's a lot of things in that pathway. CoQ10 is another one on that pathway. So doctors, if they are being real, they should be, every time they put somebody on a statin, if they knew the actual pathway that the statin is blocking, they would tell you to take CoQ10 and perhaps even tell you to take vitamin D. But they don't, because they don't know. Most don't know, which is sad. We were never taught that. We are only taught high cholesterol, give a statin. Diabetes, give a statin. Unless we went outside the box and learned these things on our own, it was never, and it's okay that we didn't know, because we are given basically immunity. If you follow the guidelines, you're safe. You can't be sued. I mean, imagine that. I put you on a statin, you get a side effect of a muscle ache and pain. It's in the package insert that it could cause that, but they will defend it because the benefits of a statin with these statistics I just gave you, you got to treat for a primary prevention. So nobody's had a heart attack. In fact, very few of my patients, I've been practicing for 27 years, very few, I mean, you would have to be practicing for 40, 45 years, because most times when you become a physician, you start seeing people your own age. So I started young and I'm growing older with them. So you can imagine 30 years down the road, not many are having heart attacks, right? So you would need to be treating these people to prevent a heart attack. Like I'm gonna put you, I see you, you're 50 years old, right? And I put you on a statin. I'm gonna have to follow you for 5 years, put you in my number scheme, and say, well, to prevent a heart attack, I got to treat 268 of you to prevent one cardiovascular event for 5 years. I mean, I don't know. Again, maybe some of you would side and say, you know what, it's worth it to me. And it's worth it that you could, by blocking that pathway, you could get muscle aches and pains. You could increase your risk of dementia. You could increase your risk of diabetes, because that's what they do. You actually increase your plaque in your coronary arteries. It actually raises your calcium score. It doesn't prevent it from getting worse. It never has been shown to cause regression of your calcium score, your calcium buildup in your plaques. It has never been shown to do that. Melanie says her family members on a statin are starting to experience memory loss. Cardiologist said there's no data to support memory loss on a statin. Okay. The brain needs cholesterol in order to survive. Okay? Our cells in our body have a membrane full of cholesterol and fat. Without it, you're getting cell death. You are aging. You are oxidizing from the inside out. Okay? Let me fix something here. Bear with me, you guys, on Instagram. Okay. So if you guys have a question on YouTube, put a question mark in front of it so I know. I'm going to skip to the end. Oh, good. RM is here. Woof. I got a moderator over there on YouTube, you guys. So that's important for me. Yay. Linda says, yay, RM is here. Good deal. Thank you. I'm going to skip to the end then, and we'll let RM take over the reins here. Let's see. Is it true that fat plus sugar equals diabetes? I can't necessarily say that. Diabetes itself is glucose intolerance, so blood sugar intolerance, okay? You have carbohydrate intolerance. The diabetes is caused by an inability of insulin to work. So over time, from eating these foods, and everybody's different, from eating high carbohydrates, high sugar, there is risk of developing diabetes. Adding fat to it only makes it more palatable. You're going to want to eat it, and so you will eat more of it, okay? That is the beauty of a global flavorist that works for the big food companies. They will make it so it is crunchy enough, fatty enough, sugary enough, salty enough to get you addicted, to hit your dopamine receptors in your brain. That's what they do. Can you blame them for wanting to make money? You probably can't blame them. So that leaves you to your own devices in trying to avoid these things. So either avoid them or you don't avoid them. Diabetes is not an age-related disease because you are aging. It's because over time, you've developed an inability of your insulin to be able to keep your blood sugars down. And, eventually the pancreas just crashes. It can't keep up. That is full-blown overt diabetes. But most of you listening are probably sitting, if you haven't already started a low-carb ketogenic diet, you're sitting with prediabetes already. You don't know it because you've never checked. I've had so many people tell me, I'm not diabetic. Oh, you've looked? Oh yeah, the doctor told me. Well, what did the doctor show you that told you that you weren't diabetic? Well, I don't know. They said my blood sugar was fine. What is fine? Well, I don't know. I'm trusting my doctor. Are you just going to walk out in front of a car and trust that they're going to stop in time to not hit you? Do you just blatantly trust your doctor without checking into it? I don't think that that is a very good way to proceed through life. I don't think it's very good in all areas of your life to just simply trust somebody blatantly without doing anything on your own, researching, using your noggin. Yes, we are blessed with many, many skills from God. And you hope and trust that people have your best interest in your life. But that is simply not true. That's why we're here still. We're sinners. No one is perfect. We all have flaws, and we all want to do what's best for ourselves. We're our own little mini gods, trying to give up our godlike nature to follow God, Jesus. That's me. Might not be you, but that's me. And so it's a work in progress. But I truly do not want to hurt people. I don't know if I could say that doctors truly want to hurt people. They don't just go out and say overtly, I'm just going to hurt these people. No, but their lack of looking into things could be an overt indication that they don't care about you and they really only care about themselves. If they're worried about getting sued and they're just going to follow the guidelines, isn't that really worried about themselves and not about you? Well, the guidelines say this, so I'm just going to do it. And if you get sick or hurt or muscle aches or you get dementia, they told us that really wasn't going to happen. The chances of that happening are pretty low. The number needed to treat are like whatever, and they make up some word, this number. When you look around like Melanie and says, boy, I'm starting to look around and I see all of my family members are starting to lose their memory. And they all seem to be on statins and they all seem to have diabetes. Now, again, they're choosing, you watch what their food they're eating and you go, well, that's probably, but if statins, part of their mechanism of action, decrease the ability to control glucose, now it's adding to your food choices that are not so good. Is this making sense? Another thing that slays me, and you guys can add in, I mean, go ahead and ask questions. Oh, Lucy, thank you. I can put you, let me put you here. Hold on. There you go. Okay, Lucy, you've just been made a blue wrench. So thank you over there. My blue wrenches are helping me out. I appreciate you. Susha, I'll get to that question. If you could ask it again down the line. I'm trying to stick with the statins / diabetes, the metabolics here for a bit. That is a metabolic problem, and I can get to that. Think Maggie says, my brother was a pre-diabetic, but reversed it by cutting out processed foods, and he dropped 45 pounds, lean meat, veg, fruit, lower carbs. So the thing with pre-diabetes and looking for pre-diabetes is most doctors are so glucose-centric that that's the only thing they look at. So if you fall in the average range of, say, 90 to 120, they'll say you're okay. But really, a normal fasting blood sugar should be 80. And already, it's taking a lot of insulin to keep you at whatever, if you're 120 or 100, 108. You're going, hey, now that you're learning, you go, oh my gosh, doc, that is pretty high. I didn't know that. And then if you check your insulin level, it will be super high. It'll be, our normal is 3 to 5 for your insulin level. I mean, I'll get random insulins on people, even in the fasting state, and I've seen them go as high as 40, and their blood sugar is 108, and their A1C is 5.8. No medicines, no nothing. That person has underlying diabetes, and it's just going to take just a little more time, and they'll just spill over completely. But see, if we were never looking, we wouldn't diagnose these people until further down the line. Further eye damage, further kidney damage, further heart damage, further foot damage, further peripheral damage, all of that, because we're not looking. We're glucose-centric doctors, only looking at the glucose and maybe the A1C. And we will diagnose prediabetes only by looking at the A1C. I know because I did it. You will be 5.7, 5.8, 5.9. And we will call it the prediabetes, which is, if for all practical purposes, that is relatively true. But in all reality, there is no such thing as prediabetes. You aren't pre-anything. When you're born, you're pre-diabetic too. You either have it or you don't have it, because everybody's getting it. You're not perimenopausal. You're either menopausal or you're not, because an infant female is already perimenopausal, right? You're around menopause. If we just widen the goalposts, 40 years, yeah, you're perimenopausal. Yeah, you're pre-diabetic. We'll just widen the goalpost to 10 years. Well, in the next 10 years, you're going to be a diabetic. If you continue doing what you're doing, you're going to be a diabetic. Oh, I don't want that. What do I do? Well, you need to cut back on your calories. You need to exercise more. And how well has that happened? Helped us. And you really should take this statin. Because if I give you a statin, it'll prevent you from getting diabetes. Not. It'll cause your diabetes to get worse, faster. Lucy, I don't know what happened to your question. How come? Lucy, you have to accept the blue wrench in order to help me out here. Do you want me to re-invite you, or how does that work? Yeah, there's some questions, they're happening so fast I can't see them, okay? Maggie says, same with my brother. He couldn't get insurance, so his wife put him on a, whatever that is. Okay, so Lucy is a blue wrench now. Checked my fasting blood sugar yesterday. It was 78. I was surprised since I had sugar and alcohol at dinner. Would you say this is because my insulin is working? I wasn't in ketosis. You don't have to be in ketosis. Recall that your insulin level will stay up for 14 hours. So it was lowering your blood sugar down. So your blood sugar wasn't going to be elevated because if you could have done a finger stick on your insulin level, Lucy, it was likely very high. And it stays high, especially if we are not metabolically flexible. So as we age, our ability to lower insulin rapidly is over the hill, okay? So Lucy, your insulin level was staying high, very high. After your splurge and alcohol and the dinner and whatever, you wake up the next morning or whatever, you shouldn't be surprised at 78 because I bet your insulin was like 20. And so that's why, but I'm only speculating, okay? Penny, yes, I will. There's just a couple questions ahead of you. Virginia says, if you eat super healthy, can you change your health? My brother is off metformin. What is super healthy? I don't know what super healthy is. My fasting glucose was 95. Thanks for referencing what you believe. My doc said I was fine. In 1910, you might be fine, okay? You might be fine. However, I think it's very important to know what your insulin level is. Wouldn't you like to know if you had a chance of being diabetic in the next 10 years? Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to enjoy. Maybe I'm just assuming that people want to be as healthy as I do. And that I shouldn't, yeah, okay. Penny says, can you mention the connection between diabetes and glaucoma? Glaucoma, I believe, Penny. Can I prove it? No. But we have proteins in our eyes. We have proteins in our skin. We have protein in our red blood cells. We have protein everywhere in our body. Whenever sugar binds to a protein, it's called glycation. I believe that sugar binding to the protein in our eyeballs cause glaucoma. Glaucoma is glycation gone wrong. Cataracts, glycation gone wrong. Wrinkles on our skin, glycation gone wrong. Kidney disease, heart disease, glycation going wrong. Too much glycation, too much sugar, too much glycating. That's why we have sick red blood cells as well. That hemoglobin is being damaged. I had blood work done. I had an A1C of 5.8. That's pre-diabetic. Had an ALT for my liver of 68. You have fatty liver disease. You definitely have, you have metabolic syndrome. You have fatty liver at 68. That liver function of an ALT should be between 10 and 15. Doc made me get an ultrasound, said I have fatty liver. There you go. Can eating meat and eggs and exercise help with fatty liver? Absolutely. The things that made you get fatty liver is high insulin. You need to lower your insulin. How do you lower your insulin? Lower your blood sugar. How do you lower your blood sugar? Get rid of carbohydrates, and your fatty liver will go away. Okay? Also, HIIT as your exercise, so resistance training more so than cardiovascular, long cardio sessions aren't going to help. Lifting weights and doing HIIT, high intensity interval training, would be the best things to do. Okay. Can we do finger stick on insulin levels? I don't know if that's available, but maybe you can check under Mojo. That makes sense. High insulin doesn't really mean high glucose. Correct. It's working very hard to lower your glucose. 1910 says, yes, I do have a lab slip waiting for the insulin check next, which I requested after hanging out here with you. Awesome, 1910, that's awesome. Ellie says, I have Crohn's disease. My flare-ups are usually connected distress and lack of sleep. They had given me suppositories. Suppositories for what? But I found out my dress, I don't understand that. Ellie, you're gonna have to do that over. Nancy says, do I need to be more mindful of salt intake on a low carb diet? Yeah, absolutely. I think anybody who's eating a low carb diet needs electrolytes. Not that the carbs were causing, okay, if we explain a process, if you are eating a normal Western diet, it's usually going to be between 45 and 60% carbohydrates, okay? And if the 45 to 60% carbohydrates go to zero, when you lower carbs, you lower blood sugar. When you lower blood sugar, you lower insulin. Insulin causes salt and water retention. So if your insulin is low, okay, and you lower your carbohydrates, lowers blood sugar, lowers insulin, you're going to drop water and salt. So it would be in your best interest to, and I think you'll feel better, to monitor your electrolytes and minerals for that matter. I don't know what kind of water you're drinking, but yeah, you should be mindful of your salt intake. They gave you steroid suppositories for your Crohn's disease. Why not just stop what is likely the cause of your Crohn's disease, which is carbohydrates? For the most part, it's plants. Plants are causing your irritable bowel. They're causing inflammation and gap junctions. Maggie says, no processed foods, fresh vegetables, fresh or fruit like berries, lean meats like chicken, fish, etc., carbs, potatoes. He just cut out junk like frozen. Well, he's still going to get diabetes with that type of food. It's just going to be longer to come. Ohio says, what are the initial signs and symptoms of the body cutting carbs? Weight loss initially in the first few days, and that's due to water and salt loss. Olin says, I appreciate your content. You're very welcome. Thanks for being here. For you guys, please like and subscribe. If this information is helping you and you think it could help somebody else, share it with somebody. Like and subscribe, follow, hit the thumbs up, do the clickety-clack, and make this platform go viral if you're learning something. I don't, if I'm giving you false information and you're following me on Chat GPT and you go, then present it to me. Let's figure it out together. Let's see. Steroids are going to decrease the inflammation. Of course they are. But do you want to take a suppository of a steroid that's going to increase your blood sugar? And it's just temporary. What is causing your inflammation? They're giving you something for inflammation, telling you, Ellie, that you have inflammation. What is causing the inflammation? Do you think you were just born with Crohn's? Oh, I have a family history. No, you have your family history likely had problems because of what they ate. But that's up to you. And do an elimination diet. Do an elimination diet and see for yourself what is, if you do meat, salt, and water, see how your Crohn's disease feels. Kelly says, what is your advice for people with PCOS? PCOS is female infertility. It is female infertility. The reason a person has PCOS is because they are insulin resistant. They are basically a diabetic. The ovaries in a female secrete estrogen, okay? They make estrogen. All estrogens start out as an androgen. All estrogens start out as testosterone. In order to get this pathway going, you need fat and cholesterol. Animal fat and cholesterol. I didn't say phytosterols. I didn't say plant phytosterol, the version of plant cholesterol. I said saturated in fat. We are animals. Animal fat and cholesterol makes pregnenolone. Pregnenolone tells the adrenal glands to make DHEA. DHEA converts to androstenedione. Androstenedione converts to testosterone, and testosterone aromatizes to estrogens. Testosterone makes estrogens in a female. All estrogens start out as testosterone. Everyone. Okay? If insulin is high, so the person is eating a bunch of blood sugar, they have insulin resistance now. Their insulin actually prevents the conversion of testosterone to estrogen in the ovary. We're in the ovary right now. That testosterone never gets a chance to convert. It doesn't aromatize to estrogen. Therefore, a PCOS person will lack estrogen and have high androgens. Then they're infertile because they have no estrogen. And then they get hair growth because they have no estrogen and too much testosterone. It's just a buildup. So what is my advice for a PCOS person? Lower the insulin. And now you'll get a better conversion of testosterone to estrogens. But we're not telling them that. We know that they have a blood pressure or blood sugar problem. We figured that out. So we'll just give them metformin and then they can be fertile. Well, you didn't stop the original what caused the high blood sugar, high insulin thing, as in their diet. I'm just going to give them some metformin and then they can have a baby as they're still sick. Then they have a big macrosomic baby. They're diabetic. The woman is diabetic and she's going to have a very, very big, large diabetic kid. That kid is already starting in the womb to be insulin resistant and have a whole bunch of chronic problems. Instead, we should have told the woman before she gets pregnant that it's your diet that's causing your high blood sugar, which is causing your high insulin, which is blocking the aromatization of testosterone to estrogen. That's why you can't have a baby. Oh, but we'll just give you some birth control pills to bump up your estrogen. You see how doctors are just treating your symptoms instead of just telling you why you have what you have and you can fix it on your own? Why don't they do that? They do not know. I'm speculating and painting a broad brushstroke. The ED, that's PCOS, but in a male. Erectile dysfunction. Hi, left lane rider. Wayne says he takes magnesium, potassium, D3, B1, and zinc on his carnivore diet, along with salt water every day. Why? Shireen, it sounds like that you need to take your son to the doctor. Or maybe schedule a consultation. If you guys would like to sign up for a consultation, you can email me at IronLadyDoc, IronLadyDoc at AOL, IronLadyDoc at AOL.com. Thank you, RM. I appreciate that. Yeah. Lucy, feel free to let people go if they don't want to, play by the rules. I don't know what's going on over there. Kelly says that's exactly what they have done to myself and now to my daughter. Well, exactly. That is the algorithm for doctors. Make a diagnosis, give the medicine. Make a diagnosis, give the medicine, and pat yourself on the back while you're doing it. Gio, amen. I learn something new every time I watch you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I know I'm lagging. I apologize because I have questions over on Instagram as well. Bear with me, you guys. How do I feel about fasting? Intermittent fasting, I think we just need to be careful. It's not that it's dangerous by any means to intermittent fast, unless, of course, you are already a person who doesn't eat very much calorie, don't take in very much energy. That can be very dangerous. If you're a person who doesn't eat a lot, by intermittent fasting, you might not be getting enough nutrition. That can be a problem. So I don't promote intermittent fasting in a lot of people. Also, if you have high insulin already, I don't promote intermittent fasting either. Okay, I don't think it's beneficial. You need to get the insulin level down by going low carb. Let's see. Ellie, I will get to that question. Give me some time. I'm backed up over here on YouTube here a bit. My testosterone is fine, but I have PCOS. Your testosterone is not fine. I don't know what fine is. If you have PCOS, you are not converting your testosterone to estrogen. That's a fact. I've started fasting and it's helped get my blood sugars back in place. I think I've always suffered from PCOS and not known it. Got a new doctor. I feel better. Good for you. Awesome. I'm on a small dose of levothyroxine. I don't mind the levo. Okay, that's synthetic T4. Why are you on it? RM, yes. If you want a consultation with me, email me at IronLadyDoc at AOL.com. Yes, that's the correct cost. Can you make hyperthyroid go away? Why are you hyperthyroid? What is going on with your thyroid that is making it overproducing? So here's your thyroid, back up and see, is there anything going on in your brain that could be causing your thyroid to overproduce thyroid hormone. Also look at your iodine level. Gio says, I've lost 80 pounds and feel fantastic. Who does not want to lose 80 pounds? If they have 80 pounds to lose, who doesn't want to lose 80 pounds following a low-carb diet? All you had to do, they want to lose 80 pounds, just follow a low-carb diet. That sounds awesome. Congratulations on your weight loss, Gio. I appreciate that you're sharing that with people. YouTube crack, good morning. Scrum says, sorry, the numbers were in range is what I meant. I'm on Levo because I'm hypo, sitting at 10.6. 10.6 what? A TSH of 10.6? What is your free T4, free T3, reverse T3, TG, and TPO? And what is your in range means to me that you are following or looking at a reference range, and a reference ranges are a bunch of sick people that go into the lab. That is not healthy people going to the lab and getting averages for the optimal ranges. Obda, you stretchy skin near your jawline. I think that I would see your doctor about that. Green Dog says, I'm 6'6", work physical labor, and I'm about 30 pounds overweight, slightly high blood pressure. I don't know what that means. I'm about to start a walking, jogging 2 miles, 4 to 5 days a week, and not eating after dinner. Any advice beyond that? Stop running and jogging and lift weights. You need muscle on your 6'6" frame to use up some of that glucose. Stop eating carbs, lower your insulin. It'll lower your weight and it'll lower your blood pressure, because blood pressure is insulin resistance. High blood pressure is insulin resistance. Green Dog, get an insulin level and share that with us. Gio is 240, 80 pounds down. Wow. YouTube crack loves bread and cakes though. Good. Then if you love bread and cakes, then you're going to love your diabetes and your blood pressure and your heart disease and your wrinkles and your glaucoma and your cataracts. Love it. You can love bread and cakes. JS says she knows thyroid. I likey. YouTube crack was pushing 300 pounds 5 years ago, started eating less and doing more. How's that going for you? Down to 195. I'm in my late 40s. So you've continued to eat less and do more? It sounds like you should be down to about 300 pounds if you've been doing that for 5 years. So I'm guessing your body has now just shut down. It's used to you just eating less. So you lost 80 pounds 5 years ago by eating less and doing more. If you were to keep that going and you've lost 80 pounds in 5 years, in 5 more years, you should be down another 80 pounds, which would be 160 pounds. So you should be about down to 35 pounds total by eating less and doing more. I don't know if that's really working for you. Let's see. Eating less and doing more. So you still continue to do more. I'm just trying to picture this. How are you doing more from more yesterday? Are you running 10 miles a day instead of 4? Are you eating less? So you were at 2,000 calories, then you went to 1,700, then 1,500, 1,000. Now you should be down to like 200 calories a day in 5 years. I mean, is that really what you're doing? I mean, just help us out. Help us get the picture, paint this picture in our head. The TSH is produced from the brain. In the brain, the pituitary produces the TSH and tells your thyroid to overproduce. Where's the problem? Is the problem in the brain? Is the problem in the thyroid? Where is the problem? I move furniture all day long, but I think I need cardio. What is cardio going to do for you? You already have a high insulin level, so you're going to have a high mTOR level, which increases your risk of cell growth. I don't know if I want to be building up my heart muscle and building up my cancer cells. Just the things to consider. How do we build muscle? You lift weights. You lift heavy things through space, up and down, lifting heavy things through space. More than, you have to do it to failure. You have to lift heavy things through space to failure. Chris, that would require, Chris is asking about long COVID. I'd be happy to do a consultation with you. Thank you, Gio, for the kind words. Obda says, should I just do cardio? No. It won't burn the fat that you have left. You'll be burning the muscle. Oh, thank you, Green Dog, for subscribing. I appreciate that. How do you feel about insulin shots for weight loss? Are you saying that right? Because you don't take insulin shots for weight loss. You take insulin for your diabetes and you end up gaining weight. Are you talking about the weight loss shots made by the companies? Be specific. I think you misquoted your question. Lucy says, lift weights, build muscle, folks. Eat protein from whole foods. Yep, eat the animals and eat the fat that comes with the animals. How do we do a consult? RM, can you help Chris? You just email me, IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. Wayne says, how good is splitting black oak in 23-degree weather? I think that's excellent exercise. Good work. Pain has, here's a good one. Pain and Suffer has candida. Or he's telling people about candida, or she. And they're telling you to just eat the raw garlic to help with your problem with candida. What caused the candida? Sugar. So you're just going to keep eating the sugar to feed the candida and just eat some raw garlic? Good idea, you guys. Good idea. Whoa. Eileen, I don't know if your dry mouth is caused by levothyroxine. You might likely be a mouth breather, but know why you're taking levothyroxine 75 micrograms. You were probably told that you have low thyroid or hypo, H-Y-P-O, hypothyroid. You might want to look into your actual diagnosis, get your numbers. How do you feel about rebounding? I don't rebound myself, so I really can't speak to it. But if it's the only thing you do, then I guess it's good. I think rebounding increases lymphatic flow, and we need lymphatic flow. When we are sick, everything goes back to the lymphatics, okay? Your lymphatic system needs to be working. You would think, oh, it's got to be my blood system. Well, yes, that is important, but your lymphatics, huge. So rebounding, or they do brushing and all these things, yeah, that helps your lymphatics, but getting rid of what is causing inflammation in your lymphatics is most important, and that goes back to your diet. Is standing all day long as a hairdresser exercise? No, it is not. That is just something you do. That is part of your daily activities. That is not exercise. And you're so used to it. I bet you've been doing it for 30 years. Is that something over and above and you're doing it to failure? Yes, it is, doctor. By the time I get done with 8 hours of cutting people's hairs, I feel exhausted. That's not exercise. Let's see. Locked on West Virginia says, feeling like I can't breathe when the air is cold. What are some possible reasons? It feels like I can't get a deep breath. You need to see your doctor, get a chest x-ray, check out your heart, check out your lungs, get your thyroid checked, get some labs. You need to see your doctor. Locked on the West Coast, or West Virginia. As a reminder, this is not medical advice. It's for information purposes only. I am obese and I have chronic constipation and loss of sugar cravings. I would need to see your labs. That is true, Geo. Geo says cold or freezing air does have less oxygen. Look that up. You can chat GPT that. Very good point. Thank you. You guys, thank you, Geo. That means a lot to me. Kelly says, is there a fear of cholesterol elevation when increasing meat in your diet? Why should you be fearful of cholesterol? People who have low cholesterol still have heart attacks, but yet we never say anything to them. In fact, we'll tell them to lower their meat intake and then they'll have a secondary event or they'll have the first primary event. So it obviously was not the high cholesterol from the meat, right? And since 2016, you might not have known this, Christopher Ramsden in 2016 came out with a report it wasn't JAMA. I can't remember. Christopher Ramsden, Ramsden, did a meta-analysis of all of the previous Dr. What's his name? Oh gosh, I'm having a brain fart. I mean, I really want to forget his name. The one that told us that cholesterol was the cause of coronary artery disease. It is not. In 2016, this was actually debunked. Many cardiologists came back and agreed with that and said it's not what you're eating. But nobody has read the report from 2016. Most current doctors have never read that. And so eating red meat with cholesterol is not the cause of your coronary artery disease. It is small, dense LDLs, which are basically oxidized LDLs, which is basically from sugar. So when you eat carbohydrates, you cause glycation or oxidation of your small, dense LDLs. Remember, LDL stands for low density lipoprotein. Remember, the concept of glycation is a sugar binding to a protein. If you have an LDL and it gets oxidized or glycated, it now is damaged. It can become oxidized and injured. Sugar is the cause of coronary artery disease. It just so happens that cholesterol is needed to patch up the injury to the blood vessel, and that's why it's present. That is my belief, and you can either believe me or not believe me, but that's what I'm going with right now. I've already been in the camp where I need to lower your cholesterol. Did it work? No. People are still having heart attacks. Oh, there's just more people with higher cholesterol, and they're probably not being compliant with their statins. Are you going to go with that? I don't know. Should you go with that? Are yellowing pupils or the whites of your eyes? Please let me know. Are you yellowing pupils? I mean, I've never seen yellowing pupils. I mean, that's the color. Pupils are the color part or the dark centers of your eyes. Why autoimmune diseases can't be treated? Why would they want to treat an autoimmune disease? That is a big buck chronic disease. What is causing the autoimmune? It's called carbohydrate toxicity. Wayne says, a year ago, I couldn't even split my firewood. I started the carnivore diet. Now I'm cutting, splitting, carrying my wood myself. I can't say it enough. I love this diet. Wayne is on a carnivore diet. Wayne eats 0 carbohydrates. Oh yeah, the whites of the eyes. No worries. Yes, yellowing of the whites of the eyes is a problem and you should see your doctor. Yes, Kelly, fruit sugars is sugar. Sugar is sugar. Fructose, glucose, galactose, lactose, all of them are sugar. Sugar is sugar. Sugar glycates, proteins. Fruit is bad for you. Fructose doesn't even get metabolized. In fact, fructose, Kelly, glycates 10 times faster than glucose. So if you really want to go diabetic, then eat your fructose. You'll get there faster. It also will cause fatty liver, so eat your fructose. A1Cs don't measure fructose. A1Cs measure glycated glucose, not glycated fructose. So if you get a hemoglobin A1C, you're eating fruit, your doctor says you're fine because you're less than 6.0, it is not accurate. It is only measuring glycated glucose, not glycated fructose. So it is not measuring it. Ohio says, I think the 1980s food pyramid probably did a lot of damage to all of us. Well, how about what's going on today? Because from 2020 to 2025, a 5-year period, the United States guidelines, or what is it? I think it is the United States guidelines, dietary guidelines. The United States dietary guidelines. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Every 5 years. So in 2025, they should have come up with, and I don't know if they did. It was supposed to come in November. Did it come? Does anybody know? Did the new U.S. dietary guidelines come out yet? Did they come out yet? If not, we're still on 2025, and they're likely about the same. But here goes. You should have a carbohydrate intake of 45 to 65% of your daily calories from carbohydrates. You should have a fat intake of 20 to 35%. And you should have a protein intake of 10 to 20%. So let's just break this down. You're an average person of 150, 60, 70 pounds, right? And you're gonna eat 2,000 calories. And of that 2,000 calories, if you were to consume carbohydrates in the 45 to 65% range, you're looking at 225 grams of carbohydrates, 225 grams. Let me remind you that our body only has 1 teaspoon, our body should have only 1 teaspoon of blood sugar at any one time. How many grams is that? 5. Where the United States dietary guidelines is pushing 225 grams of carbohydrates daily. That will include, if we were to do 10 to 20% fat, that's what I said, guess what? That's about 45 grams of fat. 45 grams. You could go, yeah, maybe. Even when I was dieting for my bodybuilding shows, I was trying to get 70. Okay, just keep this in perspective. Now protein. We're supposed to only get 10 to 20% protein, according to the United States dietary guidelines from 2020 to 2025. 2,000, on average, a 2,000 calorie diet. 50 grams of protein. That's what you need to survive, they say. If you only got 50, it means you're not gonna do anything. You're gonna wake up, you're gonna go to work, you're gonna come home, you're gonna go to bed, you're gonna wake up, you're gonna go to work, and you're just surviving. In the meantime, your muscles are deteriorating, your bones are deteriorating, you're getting osteopenia and perhaps osteoporosis. You have no protein. 50 grams? You might as well be starving yourself. 50 grams. So if the average guidelines to make up this protein content would tell you just to survive, you need 0.8 grams per kilogram. Those of you in the United States, that's about 150, you're a 150 pound person, right? 0.8, so divide that by 2.2. I'm just saying. If you divide 150 by 2.2, you're at what, 70 something? 70 kilos? And you're gonna get 0.8 grams. So less than 70 kilos. That is basically what they're telling you to do. Get 50 grams of protein per day in order to survive. If you're older, they would tell you, you know what, you should probably increase that to 1 gram per kilo. And if you exercise, 1.2 grams per kilo. So you might be getting 70, 75 grams. And you're exercising, you're being physically fit. I don't know. Are you guys doing yourself a disservice? Are you getting sarcopenia? And then they say, oh, you know what? You're just aging. You're going to lose your muscle. Well, if you don't feed it, you sure as heck are going to not, you're not going to keep your muscle. This is the things that I find unbelievable, and it's still going on today. So you people who are saying, what was the question? What was the question? Something about the dietary guidelines, right? I guess I went into a lot more detail than what you said. But look up Kelly, I think it was Kelly, look up Christopher Ramsden, 2016 meta-analysis. Kelly says, thank you. I really appreciate your information. You're very welcome. Lil Man Jr., I can't read that, but only eat fruit. The only fruit I eat are blueberries. So what does that matter? Why do you choose blueberries over any other fruit? You think there's something spectacular about a blueberry? You don't think that that raises blood sugar or fructose and then that goes to the liver? I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm completely wrong that blueberries don't have fructose or glucose in them. Oh, it's just less. Oh, okay. So you can eat a whole thing of them versus just one banana. Okay. Kaylin, I don't know, but I'm very young and hardly drink, so I'm doubtful it's my liver. You're doubtful it's your liver? You could have fatty liver disease. You know, you're young. I don't know how young you are. And apparently you've not looked at your liver function to know if you're 19. You probably haven't looked. So maybe you should look to see what your liver is doing. Check a bilirubin level, a direct and an indirect bilirubin level. What fruit is okay to eat? None. Obda says, here in Europe, we literally have products with 30 grams of sugar or more. You mean per serving, and it's like 10 servings? So it's 300 grams of sugar? Is cutting out all sugars bad? There are no essential carbohydrates, Gio. Zero, none. Have you ever heard of an essential carbohydrate? None. Melanie says, oh, Melanie's going to defend over here on YouTube. Blueberries have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Melanie, have you ever looked into how many you need in order for that to be an antioxidant? And why would you need an antioxidant? Do you have probably a problem with reactive oxygen species that are over and above what are supposed to be in your body? And why are you inflamed? Why would you need a blueberry as an anti-inflammatory when you could simply not eat the foods that cause the inflammation? Just my take on it. So no, there are not any essential carbohydrates. There's essential fatty acids, there's essential amino acids. And to go on about the fruit part, the fruits with the oxalates and the phytates and the tannins and the saponins, you're actually blocking the absorption of what you think are antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin D, B vitamins. You're blocking the absorption of them. Anytime you eat a phytate or an oxalate or take a PPI, you can't even absorb the antioxidants that you are in there. In fact, what was I thinking about the vitamin C? Oh, liver actually has more vitamin C in it than I think it was compared to an orange. Oh, you don't want to eat the liver. Oh, I see. But you'd rather eat the sugar from the fructose to get the vitamin C that the phytates and the oxalates block the absorption of? I would do that too. Oh, Left Lane Rider says, you look great as a female bodybuilder. Thank you. I appreciate that. It was many years ago. Eileen says, you just described my life. I'm probably describing a lot of people's lives. Obda says 15, no, it's 50, 50, sorry. Maybe I was talking too fast. The average person, depending on their activity, should at least be getting 100 grams. As you get older, the ability to synthesize muscle or synthesize protein, synthesize the protein for muscles, you actually need more. You cannot make, older people cannot take the amino acids to make protein as well as a young person. So it's going to take even more protein in order to preserve your muscle mass or to build muscle. Okay? Is creatine good for you? Creatine that comes from meat is very good for you. Eat meat and you'll get enough creatine. Stony is telling us that they should eat peanut butter and steak. Yes, I would agree, Lucy. Most people undereat protein. RM says, what are the diabetes types? Just 1 and 2, right? Well, I mean, they're naming type 3, type 4. I mean, you got Alzheimer's, you got PCOS, I think is type 4. Don't quote me on that. But they're just made up things. Type 1 is, it all has to do with insulin. Type 2 is too much insulin. Type 1 is none. None insulin. Those are the types. Chris says, what vitamins can you be low in for brain fog? All of them. I would check your metabolics. If you got brain fog, I would check what your diet is included. Get an insulin level. Get a CMP and a CBC. If you guys want a list of pertinent labs, email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. And peanut butter is filled with mold. Yes, it is. All nuts have mold. Lara says peanut butter is pure hydrogenated oil. Not all peanut butter is hydrogenated, but yeah, it's not good. Peanuts or any nuts are full of mold. Amber says you won't even know until it's too late if you got late stage liver failure. I agree. Doctors accept upwards to 3 times normal. That means you could have a liver ALT, AST of 120, and they'll say, oh, I think things are going, they're not so good for you. Really? When the average is 10 to 20 or 10 to 15, and they're going, you know, your ALT is 40 and they're telling you you're okay? No, you're not okay. I would look into it. RM, why are fruits bad? Just because of their sugar? Well, that's all they are, is sugar. And they're full of carbohydrates. There's no essential carbohydrates. If they're going to add fructose to your liver to cause liver fat, and they are glycating and causing you to age, then if you don't mind aging faster and you don't mind the risk of getting fatty liver, eat your fruit, no matter what it is. Eat your berries, do your thing. Good morning, AU. Thank you for being here. Stony says, I love fruit. You can love it. I hope you love fatty liver and love your wrinkles on your skin and love all that. I mean, that's awesome. Scrumsicle says, with fatty liver disease, how do you get rid of it fastest? One, by stopping the fruit and stopping the carbohydrates. You got to lower your insulin. And you exercise by lifting weights or doing HIIT. HIIT actually will, so sprinting causes fatty liver to resolve the fastest. So low carb diet with sprints causes the fasting. Actually, let's be honest, fasting will cause the fastest reduction of fatty liver. How about that? Geo says it's coming this way. It's 1 in Chicago. When I woke up this morning, it was a little warmer. It was 1 below, and then by the time I got to the gym, it was 5 below. So it's getting colder instead of warmer today. But then I think on Tuesday, it's supposed to be 43 here and rain. So enjoy the weather. What is a good treatment for Helicobacter pylori? Don't feed it. What does it live on? What do bacteria eat? AU says, any harm of having beet fruit juice every morning? Well, I don't know. Why are you doing it? Most whole grains cause massive inflammation, says Colin. It's curious that you ask about whole grains. That makes me very curious. Because if you looked up the dietary guidelines and they tell you to eat whole grains, do you guys know that when you go to the grocery store, what percent of your food that you put in your cart, when it says whole grain, actually has whole grain in it? The answer is about 8%. Okay? Whereas the remainder is likely, or when you get some sort of not whole wheat, whole grain, whatever it is, it's going to be about 31% refined. The bread on the in the aisle on the grocery store that says whole grain is 90% refined. So I would like to say, somebody says eat whole grains, and you say, you mean go out to the field and eat the grain whole? Because that's what you're telling me to do, because you can't get whole grains at the grocery store. There has to be processing. You have to know what whole grains mean. What part of the sperm, the endosperm and the husk or whatever, there's 3 parts. Brain fart here. Like, what makes a whole grain? They remove something. Yeah. There's no essential carbohydrates. They're bamboozling you when they're telling you to eat all of these things. Okay. Here's another one. What do they give cows? What do they feed cows? And why do they feed the cows that? What is the purpose? They feed them grains. They feed them grains because they want to fatten them, to get them to slaughter faster. Do you want to be a cow? If you do, eat grains. You will get fat. You will get diabetes. Okay? If you were to ask a cow hater, if you were to ask, you can even ask ChatGPT, is it true that if you give grains to cows, they'll get fat? They'll actually come back with yes. And then you say, you give grains to humans, they'll also get fat. Do you know that ChatGPT will tell you no? It will tell you no because humans have a monogastric stomach and their intestines are shaped different than a cow's. It has nothing to do with blood sugar and nothing to do with insulin for a human getting fat on grains. We're able to tolerate the United States dietary guidelines, 225 grams of carbohydrates per day. And what is the most common cause of cardiovascular disease in the United States? You guessed it, diabetes. Do we really want to, eat the grains, you guys. I think you guys listening to me are smarter than that. That's why you're listening to me. The Countess says, if we have high fives, A1C, how much fat and protein do you recommend to help lower it? That gives me no information. That is unrelated. I don't know. I would have to, Nina, I think you should do a consult and we can talk about this. IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. Any thoughts about D-ribose and cellular energy production? I would have to look into that. J. Michael, I would have to look into that. We can discuss it some other time. Like really get into it on how mitochondria use carbohydrates or how they use protein and fat and fat as an energy source. I think we would get into the weeds on whether or not a person is on a ketogenic diet or if they're eating a standard American diet, but simply just adding D-ribose for cellular metabolism as you continue to eat a crapola diet that you've been bamboozled by the buffoonery, by the United States guidelines. I wouldn't go there. So adding any supplement at this point, I can't get on board with. Wayne says, I eat a pound of beef, 6 eggs, and a half a packet of bacon, which is about 0.4, it's about a half a pound, not quite a half a pound of bacon. So a pound of beef, 6 eggs, and a half a pound of bacon most days. I feel like I need more. I eat more. If I don't, I won't. Easy for me to binge. Whoa. Okay. Wayne, I didn't understand. I got the first part of your thing, but I didn't get the remainder. Beets are great for cleansing. Why do you need to cleanse? You mean like soap and water? And building new blood. So now you're talking about building new blood. So are you talking about nitric oxide? Nitric oxide is actually released in the endothelial cells of our intestines and our arteries. The endothelial cells of our arteries produce nitric oxide. Bacteria in our mouth actually produce nitric oxide. So eating beets, you're telling me that it's building new blood cells, new blood plasma, new blood serum, and it's fantastic for your liver and detoxes it as you continue to eat the crappy food that you need to detox your liver from? Is that what you're... So Amber is another person who says that they've been following all the holistic naturopathic people, and they'll tell you, just go eat, take this supplement, take that supplement, eat this, eat that, as you continue to eat the poison. So you're basically saying, you know what? I can tolerate a little bit of cyanide if I just take some beets or take some whatever it is. I'm going to take vitamin D, or I'm going to take vitamin C, or I've been told to take spirulina or black seed oil, or whatever it is. You're going to now do beets because it's going to cleanse your liver because it's toxic from the crap you put into it in the first place. RM, I know about the, actually it's not medical advice, RM, it's information purposes only. And it actually is good hearing people talk about what they're doing, because we need to talk about it and why it's not using your noggin. Okay. So Sizzle, thanks for liking and subscribing. I appreciate it. J. Michael says, yes, it is harmful sugar. I know, the only thing I know, J. Michael, about our ribose is that when I was, I believe in college, I can't remember. I was younger, and I remember it was a supplement to help with bodybuilding, and that is about all I can recall. Obada says, I take in 70 grams of protein per day. You're likely underdosing yourself. What other than alcohol affects the liver? Well, just go to the grocery store. That affects the liver. Any carbohydrate will affect the liver. Tylenol, alcohol, fructose. What vitamin levels are low? I already answered that. Is there a type 3C diabetes? Type 3C. There's type 1.5. Yes, I think I've heard of type 3C. But RM, all diabetes is carbohydrate toxicity, except for type 1. And it's going to be a carbohydrate toxicity depending on how much insulin you're going to give yourself, okay? What about avocados on keto? Maybe avocados for you on keto is fine. I don't eat plants. Base DM says, do breath work to clear brain fog. Okay, you mean so do some breath work as you're eating carbohydrates? Do breath work as you're exercising? Help me out with your advice. Why do some say too much protein is hard on the kidneys? For the exact same reason that they tell you to only eat 50 grams of protein per day, and we still have kidney disease. Why do we have kidney disease? The most common cause of kidney disease is diabetes. How do you get diabetes? Carbohydrate toxicity. So if they want you to follow the guidelines of eating 225 grams of carbs and only 50 grams of protein and 40 grams of fat, do you not think that they're going to tell you that protein is hard on your kidneys? I think so. You've been bamboozled by the buffoonery, GL. Stony says, having vitamins as tablets is better than fruit? No, I didn't say that. I'm just telling you what fruit does to our body. Now, if you want to know what vitamins do to your body, they're synthetic and they block normal biologic processes that are going on in our body. The reason you are needing vitamins is because of the diet does not provide them. You're malnourished. If you say that you need vitamins and supplements, it's telling me that your diet is, you're malnourished. Then it's not very good. If you tell me that you need vitamins and minerals, you're essentially telling me that your diet is so bad that it needs to, you need supplements. Oh, thanks, Fraser, for telling us. Type 3 is chronic pancreatitis. Why do you have chronic pancreatitis? Fraser says, since 20, diagnosed at 21. I wonder what happened from birth to age 21. And I wonder, what did mom eat during birth, during gestation? What did mom eat before gestation, before conception? Hello, Chris from Sydney. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Locked on West Virginia says, do you think you ever struggled with desensitization as a doctor? And do you think it's a problem that matters in the medical world? Can you define desensitization for me? Ohio says, I have to disagree. Pomegranates and grapefruit is what I eat this time of year. Plenty of vitamin C. Then what can we eat for fiber if fruit is not that good? Why do you need fiber? Fiber is a carbohydrate. Did I not say that carbohydrates are not essential? So why would you need fiber? The definition of fiber is you cannot digest it. Why would you consume something that you cannot digest? Bacteria eat sugar. Yes, they do. Bacteria eat sugar. Corn, yes, makes them fat. It sure does. And it's cheap. It is. And that's what our cows are eating. They're probably diabetic when they go to slaughter. I have a long history of kidney stones since age 16. I'm 63 now. And fasting has made them worse in the past. The only thing I found that even remotely helps is 100% cranberry juice on a regular basis. What are your kidney stones made out of? The most common cause of kidney stones is calcium oxalate. How do you get calcium oxalate stones? Consuming too many oxalates. Or your body's producing too many oxalates. Doubtful, but oxalates bind to calcium. Calcium is taken out of your bones and teeth to bind to the oxalates to get them out of your body in the form of stones. Find out what kind of stones you have. And so when you are fasting, does that mean you are not taking in enough calcium, not taking in enough magnesium, anything that binds oxalates? Potassium, calcium, magnesium, I think bind oxalates. Calcium is the most common. No more over here. Thank you, Wayne. You have a Merry Christmas as well. Any suggestions to help them dissolve stones? Yeah, taking potassium citrate, calcium citrate, magnesium citrate. Usually a citrate will help destroy the stones. Left Lane Rider says he's 6 foot, 230, 46, truck driver, don't get much exercise because he works every day. How many people here work every day? I'm guessing everybody here listening works every day, Left Lane Rider. So you're saying because you're a truck driver, you don't get exercise? There's a before truck driving and there's a after truck driving. They don't make you, correct me if I'm wrong, but they make you drive over a certain, I thought there were standards that you can't drive over a certain time period. So that means you're telling us that you don't have time to exercise because you're a truck driver. Oh, thanks, Lucy. So the whole grain is the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, Kaylin, I think artificial sweeteners are bad for you, but worse than what? Worse than sugar? Sugar is sugar. Thank you for finding that. GPT says grains don't automatically make humans fat, but they can contribute to weight gain. As in, they're going to build muscle for you, depending on the type of grain, the amount of grain, and the context of the grain. That's, I mean, that is true, right? Infamous? I mean, it's going to depend on the type, the amount, and the context, right? Um, 54% of Americans can read above 6th grade levels, scorning to the NLI. Is this related to diet? What is NLI? Help me out. Sizzle, you and Fraser be nice. Fraser is likely from the EU, and you are likely from America, and we each have things here and there that we each like. So you probably went over there, Sizzle, to the UK, ate some of their food. It had none of the sugary, delightful, succulent crapola in it. And so you thought that there was the worst tasting food ever, whereas Fraser lives in the UK and eats that kind of food every single day, and he or she is used to it being actually okay to eat. Relatively easy. Michelle says, can an elderly person regain muscle mass on a carnivore diet without weight-bearing exercise? So you think that if you just eat enough protein, you're going to gain muscle without doing anything? No. No, not enough proteins, not enough muscle mass synthesis can occur no matter how much protein you eat without doing something. Oh, geez. I just sped ahead. Ohio says, my weakness is milk. I drink it every meal. Thank you, Cyber. I appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, I'm live on Instagram and on YouTube. So there are chats and questions coming in from both, and I'm trying to get to all of them in case you have to say rude words and cussing, but we don't do that here. So if you want to continue doing that, we can let you go nicely. I think maybe I'll just do it. There we go. What food will boost my love intake? Yep, that's going to take that'll take a consultation. I would see your doctor about that. Franz, where does homemade kefir yogurt come into the diet? No added sugar? If you want to eat kefir, then eat kefir. Does the brain need carbs? No, yes, the brain will get enough glucose from the liver making it, gluconeogenesis and glycogenolysis. The brain, they make 6 grams a day. So there is enough in the blood to supply the brain. The brain actually loves ketones. It's the best energy source, but everything will consume sugar if it's available. Sugar is not available, it will not consume it. It loves ketones and will do the best on ketones. That's why people have brain fog. That's from their blood sugars being so high. You put them on a ketogenic diet and all of a sudden they start thinking clearly. What credentials do I have? This is not medical advice. It's for information purposes only. The garbage man probably has more credentials than you, though. If you need to be wooed by somebody with credentials, you use about credentials, good luck on continuing to learn and to progress and to connect dots in your life. Gio's in the trucking business, but not a driver. Then it sounds like if you're working more than 8 hours and you don't have time either before you go to the trucking, I believe you said that you drive truck. So I'm sorry, you don't drive truck, but yet you still don't have time to exercise. Some types of exercises that truck drivers can do. They can get in and out of their truck and they can do body weight squats. They can carry dumbbells and they can carry bands. They can do kettlebells. There's a lot of things that truck drivers can do, but it's going to take some imagination. What is the best vitamin for the eyesight? Getting rid of carbohydrates. What's bad about fiber? It's not digestible. Why would you need it? Extreme says, can you explain the inflammatory response caused by food? Anytime you put food in your mouth, no matter what it is, you're going to get an inflammatory reaction. It's looked at as foreign. Anything that is foreign and it's inflammatory, but there's certain things that are more inflammatory than others, i.e. carbohydrates. Okay. So you work 14 hours a day, you drive 11 of them, you sleep 10. So you have 3 extra hours? Okay. You work 14. Well, I mean, you know, left lane rider, you can give me all the statistics. What you're telling everybody is you do not make time or do not want to or cannot or whatever your excuse is, you're not going to exercise. So going into this any deeper is really fruitless. We do digest carbs. You break it down into sugar. The question was fiber. Fiber is not digestible. Nobody wants to lift weights? Okay. Nobody as in everybody? As in nobody does it? Nobody wants, but they still do it? Stronger than you all day? Let us know. I love these words. Infamous is still on ChatGPT. Here's the words. Excess. What is excess? More likely. This is where I get, I start fighting with ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, can you define more likely? Can you define, here's another one, moderation. I want to be exact, ChatGPT. Tell me what moderation means as far as calories are concerned. And tell me, is everybody have a bomb calorimeter that they're going to measure their calories? These are the fights I get in with ChatGPT. Moderation, inherently fattening. They're not inherently fattening. What does inherently fattening mean? If your insulin level is between 3 and 5, your chances of not gaining fat is pretty good. But if your insulin level is above 8, your chances inherently of getting fat are higher. I love that, Infamous. Thanks for helping us out here. So unlike cows, where grain is deliberately used to fatten them, grains aren't inherently fattening for humans. Over-consuming them is. Again, all of this bamboozlement. It's buffoonery. It's bamboozling. And you guys are falling for it. The messages with bad words aren't showing on my end. Do you know why? Sometimes YouTube will actually delete them. When I set up my YouTube channel, I put in bad language as one of the modifiers. And so if people use bad language, then it automatically gets deleted by YouTube. Lucy, who deleted RM? Mountaineer, I have recessive dystrophic epidermolysis bullosa, and I'm in such immense pains that I do. My brother has, what kind of, Mountaineer, you either need to see your doctor or to sign up for a, consultation. Yeah, I'm not familiar. I'm Mountaineer. Paul, I'm not familiar with that particular disorder. Cyber says, is it safe to take psyllium husk every day? If you're eating 225 grams of carbs, yeah, it's probably pretty safe. Let's see, I'm getting to the, yes, I am in the United States. I am in Iowa. Why does consuming excess sugar cause weight gain? Weight gain or fat gain? You can actually be on an all sugar diet and lose weight. It's called malnourishment. If my pancreas shuts down, will it ever come back? Which part of your pancreas shut down? The endocrine portion or the exocrine portion? What about the fat you eat? Is it the fat you wear? No, the fat on our body is an energy source. Our body wants to hold fat. It's normal. And that's why when you lower your calories and you exercise, over exercise, or just exercise to a max, over time, your body's actually going to gain weight. Over time, your body wants homeostasis. So the metabolism will shut down. You won't burn fat if you don't feed it. If you eat fat, will it make you fat? It'll just make you burning fat less readily. If you are taking in an energy source, any energy source, you're not going to burn your current suitcase you have sitting on your body right now. You're carrying around a suitcase full of energy. If you are consuming even fat, if you're consuming it, you'll burn that first. You'll go into ketosis. Even on a ketosis diet, you will burn the fat you're eating. And that's why some gurus out there, or some influencers, or some YouTubers, or some Instagrammers will say that if they take in too much fat, they start putting a little fluff on. I can agree with that, because if you're eating too much of the fat, you're going to burn that first before you burn your own. You might still be a little malnourished, and so your body is going to shut down. If you're fasting too much, if you're not getting enough calories, it's really a fine line, and I think getting to know your body will help. So yeah, the cat, I don't know if I could answer that question, because you could be different. I know that if my fat intake goes too high for me, and I know what that means in grams, I know that I can tell I got a little more body fat, meaning I'm not burning my body fat as much as I'm burning the stuff that's coming in. So then I back off a little bit, and then my body fat goes down. If I'm in a high stress situation, I have more cortisol, more sympathetic overdrive, and I'm going to raise blood sugar, and blood sugar raises insulin, and insulin lays down fat. There's a lot of things. What about sleep? People who don't sleep have higher sympathetic nervous system, and they have higher sugar levels, and then they have higher insulin levels, and then they gain weight, even if they don't eat anything, or say they don't. What are my thoughts on bone broth? Drink it. Linda Meredith is in Iowa City. Hello, Iowa City. Inherently fattening. You can get fat and not gain weight. So inherently fattening would mean food causes weight gain no matter how much you eat. Yes, me, LOL, exactly. Infamous, you're finding out what ChatGPT is all about. See, any of these AI have been programmed by, there are more people, there are more opposite thinkers of me than there are me. So those people are constantly plugging into AI to get the answers that they want to hear, because that's what AI remembers. If I get on and I spent 10 hours a day and all of you guys spent 10 hours a day programming in truth, then AI is going to learn truth. And you can actually get AI to tell you the truth by certain questions. And I've done it. And I go, AI, you're so smart, you narcissist. Are you a truck driver, Infamous? Oh, you're talking to Infamous. They didn't tell me, they just told me my pancreas gave out. So I'm hoping they did a C-peptide. I'm hoping they did all the antibodies for type 1 diabetes on you to make sure that you don't have type 1 diabetes. Your pancreas was overproducing insulin, so they gave you more insulin? Does that sound logical to you? Let me give you an example. You're an alcoholic. If you're an alcoholic from drinking alcohol, do I give you more alcohol to get rid of your alcoholism? So if your pancreas is overproducing insulin, is the treatment more insulin? I'm confused, because that doesn't sound logical to me. Ohio says, how do you get rid of a keto breath caused by keto diet? It usually goes away in time. My friend John T is a vegan, so will not get fat. Does being vegan reduce fat? I don't know what your vegan friend is eating. Maybe your vegan friend is only eating 3 green beans a day. Of course they're not going to get fat. What is closer to inherently fattening? Nothing truly is, but foods that come close to us are highly refined, hyper-palatable foods, liquid sugars, sodas. Oh, so it's getting a little more specific. Isn't that fun, Infamous, to argue with ChatGPT? Why was fasting so popular in ancient times? Probably because they didn't have access. They didn't live in what we call a you live in a prosperous world, and we've never experienced deprivation. And so people in, I'm guessing in whatever ancient times is, had experience of not being prosperous and living in deprivation. And so that's why they fasted. You know, they just didn't look over to their right and to their left and see a whole bunch of food at their whim to be able to eat something. They had to actually hunt it or to do something. They might have had to walk 10 miles uphill in the snow both ways in order to go to the grocery store. That's why fasting was, they just didn't want to go. I don't know the answer. Cindy says, as a carnivore, I find if I eat too much fat, I might get diarrhea, but I don't get fat. And some people are like that. That's one of the most common things that people will notice, especially if they don't have a gallbladder, that they will get diarrhea if they get too much fat. Thank you, RM. That was a good point. Cassandra says, just got to the chat. Are we talking keto? We're talking everything. Just started last month, second time in 10 years. Go for it. Congratulations. Okay. Ooh, no, RM, that's something. RM is asking, can you educate us on medical CBD, marijuana, etc.? Facts versus, I just don't know enough to comment on it, RM. I just don't. Thank you, Penny, for your prayers. I appreciate it. Can you please let me know taking insulin damaged liver? Yes, the insulin, whether you take it exogenously or your pancreas is producing it in high amounts, is damaging your liver and causing you to get fat. I mean, it is what it is. If you're type 1, you need to lower your carbs, so you have to take less insulin. If you're a type 2, you need to lower your carbs. You're hyperinsulinemic and you're taking insulin. Not a good situation. You're just going to get fatter. Good evening from London, says Rick. Thank you, Rick. Nice to meet you. I'm in Iowa in the United States, and it's still morning here. It's 5 minutes to noon. How can I explain to my doctor about good fat? Well, first, you have to know what good fat is. But two, how do you like explaining good fat to the wall in your house? Do you like talking to the wall in your house about good fat and trying to have a conversation with your wall about good fat? Exactly. Probably a lose-lose situation. I don't even think that I would go that far and try to explain to a doctor about good fat. They're going to tell you that there's seed oils. Left Lane Rider says, have a good day. Appreciate your conversing with us and learning on the live streams today. You're an amazing lady and doctor. Thank you very much, Left Lane. I appreciate that. What dose of high insulin? Anything that puts your liver, a normal insulin level is 3 to 5 in your body. So check your insulin level. I have people who are on insulin and their levels are 80. Yikes. And they're wondering why they're getting fatter. Please remember me in your prayers. I had a falling yesterday and I'm really sore and inflamed. So Penny, our prayer warrior, can you pray for Virginia Hobby 3726? Virginia is asking for prayers from everybody who are prayer warriors. Thank you. What are your thoughts on blood type diet? You think that God made a blood type so they can each eat their own type of diet? I don't believe in it, RM, but you could take two people with AB blood and give them two different diets, or give them the same diet. One will get fat and one won't. One will get diabetic, one won't. One will have a heart attack and one won't. I mean, do you really believe? I mean, just use logic. Do you think God made us so he gave us a certain blood type so we could eat a certain diet? I think that's all to try to bamboozle you with buffoonery. Thank you, Penny. Again, I could be wrong. These are my own opinions. This is for information purposes only. It's not medical advice. I have severe IBS. Doctors have no remedy for it. What would be a practical yet natural remedy? Extreme, I'm a doctor and I would tell you to stop eating carbohydrates. Thank you, Linda, for your prayers for Virginia. I appreciate that. Oh, infamous. That's interesting. Okay. I just actually let ChatGPT or Grok or Google Jeep, whatever it is. I just let them do their thing and then I argue with them. Okay, Lucy's got to go. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Have a blessed Sunday. Can you recommend a diet for people suffering from hemorrhoids? You need to get your hemorrhoids taken care of first. That's first and foremost. I would see a proctologist or a surgical GI doc who can take care of those hemorrhoids for you. Got to take care of the hemorrhoids now first. Rick, I mean, that's a great question on regulating autonomic nervous system. I think that most people are in a chronic fight or flight mode just because of our society everywhere. We're in sympathetic overdrive. So for me to help, we're so unbalanced. We're in sympathetic overdrive. So we're in chronic sympathetic overdrive. Here's parasympathetic. So sympathetic is fight or flight. Parasympathetic is calming. So what we want to have happen is to increase parasympathetic tone. Yes, we want to decrease sympathetic tone because we need fight or flight. We can't live without either one of them. You couldn't live without cortisol or epinephrine or norepinephrine. You couldn't live. You would die. But what we have going on is an imbalance that is taking us to chronic diseases. And so it's not so much a food, because some people would say what calms me are the things that hit the dopamine receptors, which are the exact foods that are causing their chronic diseases, which are carbohydrates. What I would like to say is there are exercises that increase parasympathetic tone. So as you sleep better, stress less, and increase parasympathetic tone through exercises that you can look up on the internet to increase parasympathetic or vagal tone exercises, that this will help. Remember, if your body is always in sympathetic overdrive, all of the nitric oxide is being used to neutralize the reactive oxygen species that are being formed from sympathetic overdrive. So you're using up all of your nitric oxide that you need for your arteries, for vasodilatation, you need for certain things. You're using your nitric oxide as an antioxidant to take care of the reactive oxygen species that are being caused by sympathetic overdrive. Everything in our body is related. We can't just take bits and parts. That's why this whole idea of specialties, that's bamboozling you too. All the doctors that are in their specialists, as if none of the body parts work together, they all work separately. If you go to your cardiologist and you have decreased kidney function, they'll say, go to your kidney doctor. That's what the bamboozlement is. That's a bunch of buffoonery. Okay? And then the PCP has now just become the gatekeeper. I'm just going to send you to all these places. I don't do a thing except for I'm the gatekeeper. I just tell you where to go. I make a diagnosis. Oh, you got kidney disease, go to the kidney doctor. You got heart disease, you go to the heart doctor. You got a lung problem, you go to the lung doctor. Gynecology problem, gynecologist. Do I think there's sludge on people's pancreas? No, I think there's fat on people's pancreas. All right. Okay, you guys, we'll call it quits today. If you want to consult with me in regards to your labs or your medicines or your medical conditions, again, it's not medical advice. It's for information purposes only, so you can gather up a bunch of information, take it back to your doctor, and have a civil conversation with them. That's what that is for, the consultation. You can email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. If you want to get a list of pertinent labs that you should ask your doctor for, email me. I'll send you a list. It doesn't cost you anything. Okay, I am live every Saturday and Sunday. Saturday at 9 a.m. Central, Saturdays, and Sundays at 10 a.m. Central. I haven't missed in a couple of years. It's been fun. Well, YouTubers, I wasn't doing it before, but I was always on Instagram for the last 2 years. So YouTube is a little new for me, but we're getting the hang of it. I'm struggling through it. It's been fun. You guys are awesome over there on YouTube. Thank you, RM, for being a moderator, a blue wrencher. Thank you to Lucy Macedo for being a blue wrencher. I appreciate you guys. It helps me tremendously. and great questions presented, you guys. It was awesome. So it's a great learning experience, and I appreciate Infamous for looking up stuff on ChatGPT and bringing it to my attention. Yeah, consult me at IronLadyDoc, and there's the rates. So you guys, Angel, Eileen, you guys all have a blessed, wonderful Sunday. Enjoy the cold if you're in Iowa. Enjoy the warmth if you're in California and Florida. Just enjoy it. All right? You guys have a good one. See ya.